All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Good to be back on somewhat a regular schedule, hopefully. Moving forward, again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came up last week good question, that I mentioned we're going to hold off, for the Q&A. Did answer a little bit, but going to really flush it out more. And this is it's about conversion. That question was that somebody, could be even a rabbi, said it, someone in the process of conversion, someone tells them, well, they're obligated, let's say, to keep kosher, they're obligated to keep Shabbos, etc. And even to the extent where maybe, you get someone rebuke if they don't keep, it. They don't keep Shabbos properly. They don't keep kosher or other things. Now, big problem with this. Big problem with this. Right? I could hear somebody saying, because I know people have said it, and that is even by a Baal Tshuva, right? Even by a Baal Tshuva, doesn't really matter. Doing things, too fast. All of a sudden, guy starts growing a beard. They're trying to do things according to Kabbalistic intentions. In other words, they're moving too far, too fast. So that's a recipe for disaster. Taking on stringencies, other things. But, a born Jew has obligations, right? It's got to pray, if it's a guy, he's got to pray 3 times a day. He's got to keep kosher, he's got to keep Shabbos, right? There are obligations over here, right? So I can understand to a certain extent, okay, they want to jump into things, they want to, cover up, for missed time, missed opportunities. So a lot of times they'll, do many things, too fast. And eventually they come crashing down. But there's a major difference over here, right? They have an obligation to keep Shabbos. They have an obligation to keep kosher. Yeah, so that's a major difference. Major difference. Someone in the process of conversion, even if they've been accepted by a rabbinical court, right? Even, they've gone through a rabbinical court, doesn't matter where they are in the process. Could be at the beginning, could be somewhere in the middle, could take another 2 years, whatever it is. Even if they're accepted by a rabbinical court, that they are a prospective candidate for conversion. Yeah, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean exactly? What does that mean? Are we going to say that the person, is really Jewish? Just lacking going to the mikvah? Or, it's a good start. Someone's accepted by a rabbinical court. Most people know. I would never send anyone to a rabbinical court straight away, even if they live within walking distance, of a synagogue, because, rabbinical court's not going to do that much. They probably take a lot of money up front, give you a bunch of books to read till you come back in a few months, be in touch, different things. Other people will swear by it and say, no, you got to go to the rabbinical court first thing, that you know who you are, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. Others are. So, you can take that for what it's worth. But again, even if a person be accepted by a rabbinical court, even if they be accepted as a proper candidate for conversion, okay, Are they Jewish? No. Have they gone to mikveh yet? No. Can they go to McDonald's 3 times a day if they want? Yes. Can they do other things? Sure. Right? That would apply to Noahites. Not a problem. Absolutely not a problem. So the question was, okay, now somebody like that, somebody like that will say, they're not Jewish. Doesn't matter what's in their heart. No. Talked about that many times. Person can say they're more Jewish than other people. Very good. Doesn't matter what's in their heart. We're not talking about cardiac Jews, right? Or cardiac non-Jews, cardiac JITs. I don't even know if that's a real thing. The idea about a cardiac Jew, they're a Jew at heart, okay. Right? But cardiac non-Jew, yeah, even so, they might be doing more things than most Jews, which I've heard a number of people tell me. So, they're lacking the mikveh, they're lacking, proper recognition as a Jew. Okay. Are they Jewish? They're not Jewish. Until they go to the mikveh, I don't care what anyone says. Whatever they feel. Until they go in front of 3 kosher Jews, which I don't recommend. Better certainly go in front of a rabbinical court, right? But up until that point, person's lacking the status. They're lacking that status as a Jew. Period. Nothing to talk about. No matter what they think, no matter what's in their hearts, no matter what anyone tells them, they haven't done it. They haven't done it, right? Any other religion, we mentioned this before. Meet the criteria. You end up converting. You tell the priest, I'm not going in any water, right? I'm not going in a bathtub. You're not pouring water on me. Nothing. I'm not going in the ocean. You may say, okay, flip me a couple $1,000. We'll make you a Christian anyway. Okay. Right? Maybe you can bribe someone. But in general, if you don't fit the criteria, you don't fit the criteria. If it hasn't been done, it hasn't been done. So, if someone's going to say, which I find it hard to believe, but if someone's going to say that, there are people out there, the rabbis will force them. And say, what do you mean you're not keeping kosher? What do you mean you're not doing this? Now, it depends why they're doing it. If they're doing it just, the person can do better, they're giving them mussar, why they're being so lax in different things, but they're really trying to help them. Okay. That I could hear. They're trying to help someone, even if they're giving them mussar, trying to put them in their place, trying to make them understand the severity of what they're doing. That I could hear. That I don't have a problem with. That for sure I don't have a problem with. But if you're going to tell me someone's going to say, now they're keeping kosher, or now they're, keeping Shabbos, or then let's say better, they're not doing it, they're lax or whatever, you force them? Where do you force them? They can eat treif as much as they want till it's coming out of their nostrils. They can go eat shrimp, go eat lobster, right? Even if they boil them alive, you can still eat them, even though, it's causing pain, to the lobster by killing it that way. Okay, you can still eat it. No different than how they say by veal. How do they keep them penned up? In order that the meat is more tender. So yeah, that's causing pain to the animal. Okay, but let's say you did it. Let's say that's how they grow them. That's how they raise them. Can I eat the meat? Can I eat the meat? If it's slaughtered properly, I can eat the meat. You'll say it's a moral issue. Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. It's a moral issue. Does it make the meat treif? Does it make the meat not kosher if it's slaughtered properly? It's kosher. People would say, don't eat it. You should eat it the way it's grown, right? The way it's raised. I mean, you can say that about chickens also. You can say that about cows sometimes. Maybe not raised in the most humane way. Maybe. Yeah. There's an issue with that. I'm not saying not. There's definitely an issue with that. If that's being done, it's wrong. It doesn't make it treif. Right? Let's make clear. Can I eat the cow? Even though it's been penned up in different things? Yeah. Even if it's been tortured. So what? If it's ritually slaughtered properly, I could eat it. There's no problem. You'll tell me, there's a moral issue. We get more into this. You're right. It's a moral issue. It doesn't trafe it up. Doesn't make it trafe. Yeah, that's a side point. Maybe we'll deal with it a little bit more in depth. But if someone, if a rabbi is going to come and say, listen, you got an obligation to start keeping these things, why aren't you doing it, or whatever, they try and force them, that's wrong. They're not Jewish, for goodness sake. They didn't go to the mikveh. They didn't go in front of 3 kosher Jews to convert, right? They're not Jewish. They didn't go through the process. They didn't finish the process. I'm not talking about someone who thinks they're Jewish, and going through all that, in genealogy. I'm not even talking about that. Proper conversion, no Jewish blood at all. Proper conversion. You want to tell me someone says you got to force them? Come on. Makes no sense, logically. Unless you tell me, I'm trying to come up with a far-fetched idea here. Unless you're telling me that rabbi, that person, is, they see that the person's really serious. They want to go through the process. So what do? They give muster. They hit them over the head. They say, what are you doing? You got to keep this. You got to be better. You got to, all kinds of things. That I could hear. That I could hear. To an extent. That I could hear. Why? Because they're slacking off. They want to know, if you're really serious, why are you doing this and that? But to force them? You want to tell me to force them? They're not obligated. And if a person, would go to McDonald's, 2 hours before, before they convert. I've had a number of students tell me this. Basically, say, okay, the mikvah's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be in 2 days. Let it rip. Whatever you want to do that's permissible for non-Jews, let it rip. Go out to Arby's, right? If you have Arby's, where you live. Go to McDonald's, go to Wendy's, go to this place, that place. Eat whatever you want. The rabbis of Beis Din will tell you that. Is that a problem? Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Why not? Not Jewish. Until they go to mikveh. Until they finish the process, they're not done. Right? There could be, okay, maybe you'll tell me there are questions about what happened. Maybe there's a doubt the person's really Jewish. Maybe there's a problem with the Rabbinical Court down the line, this, that. Okay, that I could hear. That I could hear if the process is done. Right? And then you see, did the person really take on the mitzvahs? Right? Did they just, fake it? And they pulled the wool over the eyes of the Beis Din? And you see what they did straight away. Maybe there was no Kabbalah's mitzvahs. They didn't take on to do the mitzvahs. Really, it's only for show and different things, or he did it for marriage, for any other ulterior motive. That will call in question the conversion. Okay, but they finished the process. If you didn't finish the process, doesn't matter. You could be 99%. All the laws. The laws of Shabbos, Kashrus, blessings. You know it all by heart. Okay. Everything. You can read Hebrew, follow a service. You're ready. You're totally ready to go in the mikveh. Very good, but you didn't do it. You didn't do it in front of 3 kosher Jews either. You didn't do it. If you didn't do it, you didn't do it. And if it hasn't been done, now the question will be, I'll ask a little bit differently. Question would be, what if they're pretty much ready to go. They have all this information. They've been accepted by a Rabbinical Court. Messiah comes. Questions come up before. The Messiah comes. They didn't convert. What's going to be with them? So I asked the great rabbi a while ago, and he told me that, if they're already accepted by a Rabbinical Court, after the Messiah comes, they'd be allowed to convert. Now, what's the problem? Because if you survive the Messiah coming, you've seen open miracles. Right, the Gemara says at the time of King David and Solomon, no one can convert. Why couldn't they convert? Open miracle, no free will. So too, the miracles that happen are going to happen. Let's say better when the Messiah comes. It's brought down that it's going to eclipse what happened in Egypt. The miracles in Egypt's going to make Egypt look like child's play. Hard to imagine, considering what happened in Egypt. Okay. Right? You're going to see open miracles. Who's not going to want to join? Whoever survives. But if all these non-Jews, they're all going to want to join. Too late. No one's going to be allowed to join. No one's going to be allowed to join. Why not? No free will. Free will's been taken away. Could be though, depending where you're holding in the process, you've been accepted by Rabbinical Court, this, that, you have all this knowledge, Elijah the prophet will settle that, so could be they'll be allowed to convert afterwards. Okay. But again, this cannot be underemphasized. And this comes up a lot. I mean, not the first time I heard such a thing, right? This thing has come up a lot. I've done this, I've done that. I'm just lacking this. Okay. And if a person doesn't pass his medical exams, not a doctor. Hasn't passed, his law exams, not a lawyer, right? Maybe he's called an attorney, but he's not a lawyer. Okay. You passed the exam. You did what you have to do. Good. If you didn't, then you're not. So in this case, how could it be? Again, it's kind of a mind-boggling idea. Totally mind-boggling idea. If that would be the case, and they haven't finished, they haven't done what they needed to do, that's it. They didn't do it. If they didn't do it, you're going to tell me, you're going to force the person? You got to say he's got to keep kosher? He's got to keep Shabbos like a Jew? He's got to do these other things? You're going to force him? Come on, it's not Jewish. Again, the only thing I can think of is that, the person should be doing what they should be doing. They're slacking off, but they see they're really serious. Their evil inclination got them, whatever it is. Right? So someone's giving them mussar. Someone's giving them mussar and saying, you got to keep it, you got to do it, you got to this, you got to that. Hit them over the head. That I understand. That I can hear. Because I've heard a lot of times, many people either get burnt out, they flake out, they have difficulties, they say, no, I don't want to do it, but they've been doing this for years, and then they come back and say, no, I'm just going through a hard time, different things. So give them certain perspectives how to look at things. Yeah. But there's no obligation. A person can get so burnt out or have such pressure to say, I don't need it. What do I need it for? I'll stay in Ohio. It's easier to be in Ohio in many ways. No, that's not a problem. But if they're not Jewish, you're not hammering them over the head. You got to keep Shabbos. You got to keep. There's no obligation. And I will go on record, since we are recording here, I'll go on record if they drop dead the next day, they have a heart attack down the line, whatever happens, they get upstairs after 120 years. How's God going to view them? I have to get these funny glasses. I get my George Burns funny glasses, my funny mustache. If I were playing God, I'd say, you're a God. You're a non-Jew. You didn't finish. We're not going to say posthumously, okay, we're going to give you a pass here. We're going to give you a pass. We're going to make you an honorary Jew, be able to be buried in the Jewish cemetery. I don't think anyone's going to say that. Right? I'll go on record and say, no one's going to say that. You didn't finish. It's not about proving genealogy. You don't have any Jewish blood. Very simple. You didn't finish. You didn't pass the law exam. You didn't pass your medical boards. You didn't do it. Oh, but someone's in the process. They're really serious. This and that. I can see someone hammering them, someone giving them mussar why they're not doing what they're doing and why they're flaking out and why they're lazy. That I can hear. It's about the only thing I can hear. But I don't hear anything else. Someone forcing them to say, you got to do it. Why? If you tell me, there's a 98% chance they're really Jewish, I hear. That I can hear. And there are cases where people, can prove it. If they prove genealogy, right? The rabbis will tell them, you can't break Shabbos because there's overwhelming evidence. Doesn't happen that often, but let's say there's overwhelming evidence. Very good. That I can hear. Then, you got to look at them as a Jew. But if I look at them as a non-Jew, why in the world would I force them to do anything? No one's forcing them to do anything. They want to keep kosher. They want to keep kosher. They want to pray. They don't want to pray. You can do whatever they want. Free choice. It's a free world. Right? Sort of. Right? You can do what you want. You want to tell me someone's going to force them and make them feel bad when they haven't finished? Doesn't make any sense unless I'm missing information. That totally doesn't make any sense. Unless you're giving them mussar for different reasons that I could hear. But I get it. It's about the only thing I hear. So anyone in the process of conversion, if they decide tomorrow they're not converting, okay? What, I have to run after them. Say, really? This is what you should do. You should still take my classes. You should do this, you should do that. I've had many people flake out for different reasons, nothing to do with me. Yeah, flake out, and that's it. I'm not running after them. We're not looking for converts. Not interested in converts. You don't want to convert? Okay. That's not a problem. We don't have any issues. You can stay a non-Jew. It's easier. Much easier. I'm not trying to discourage people. Facts on the ground. Yeah. It'll be much easier in many ways. Okay. But if that would be the case, if the other side would be the case, yeah, then I'd be running after people. No, you don't understand. You should really do this and, give my different spin on things. Okay. I'm not doing that. If someone wants to go, let them go. They don't want to convert. They don't have to convert. It's fine. They'll do what they need to do. We'll do what we need to do, and that's it. They want to come back. They decide they want to convert, and they're really serious. Okay, I think people flip flop also. And it's also not good, right? You make a decision, try and stick with it. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. Yeah, but normally you're in this process. You're in it for the long term. Most people. Can things come up where a person just gets totally turned off, or they decide it's finally not for them? Yeah, I know a story. Someone got divorced. That was exactly the case. And for some reason, they moved to a Jewish community. Kids are in Jewish school. In a Jewish school, and one of the spouses snapped. Something happened, and they said, "I can't go through with it." And the other spouse says, "I can't go back. There's nothing for me to go back to. Nothing for these kids to go back to." So they end up, getting divorced. Now they wouldn't have got divorced otherwise, right? As far as I know, had a long discussion with this person. That wasn't even on the agenda, but for some reason, I'm not going to go into it, but there was something that happened. This person just said, it's too much. This is too much. And they couldn't do it. And they seemingly snapped. That's what happened. They snapped. It was just, and they end up getting divorced. Now, that's not really what's supposed to happen, but, it can happen. Or, someone can get turned off in another way. Or someone can just say, it's just, it's way too long, and to move into this and whatever. And they give up. A lot of people give up. It's a hard process. Makes sense. If you're Jew, you can't give up. There are people that do. But at the same time, if you're born a Jew, you're stuck. For better or for worse, you're stuck. You got to keep it anyway. I don't have a choice. I have a choice. I cannot keep it. Okay. But if you're born a Jew, it's a different story. If you're a Jew by choice, okay. But who says you have to make that choice? And there are things that can happen. That person says, I don't want to make this choice. I know somebody, I was student for many years, and whatever, the whole thing about finally, converting, and then they got sidetracked. They totally got sidetracked. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I hear from this person, a few years back, totally got sidetracked and said, okay, this is it. I've been doing this for years. And they get sidetracked. So they got sidetracked, and then, they finally finished. But that can happen. There are a lot of things. People can have total upheavals, financially, health-wise, different things. That, doesn't allow it to happen. But remember, less than 20% who even accepted by Rabbinical Court finished the process. Right? So I would say you're going to be a non-Jew until you prove that you're going to be a Jew. What's the proof? Proof is that they went to the mikveh. That's the proof. That someone went to Rabbinical Court, and the Rabbinical Court said, okay, we'll see you in a few weeks or whatever. We'll see you in a month. You come back in a month. And they said, yeah, we'll be, for sure we'll be back. And the Beis Din said, we'll see. The person frantically texted me and they said, why would the Beis Din say that? Why would the Rabbinical Court say that? They said, we downsized, we moved into walking distance of a synagogue, my kids are in school, different things. Why would they say that? because people can flake out, even if they move, even if they downsize. That's the experience. Until a person actually finishes, they didn't finish. Someone 10 years. 10 years took to finish. Why 10 years? Because of different circumstances. They couldn't convert. They make tremendous self-sacrifice. And then 2 years later, they finished. 2 years later, 2.5 years later, whatever it was. So don't, person can have the greatest intention, can have the greatest fervor in this and that. That person was still keeping kosher, was still learning, these other things, but had other issues. Other issues, couldn't convert. Didn't give up. This person wasn't giving up. And it's proven that, just a matter of time, but they had to overcome a tremendous hurdle to overcome. And they decided, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Finish. And that opened all kinds of other doors, but it doesn't, a person like that, I never would have said, up until the point where, they went to the mikveh, which was a number of months ago, would I have ever given them muster about what they're doing? No, because I knew they're on this path. And I knew they were going to finish, just a matter of when. Right? So, yeah, maybe I would have given someone muster, in a certain way, maybe for certain things. But that's only when it would be 100% clear that, there's nothing stopping them here. They're like a freight train. They're going to finish. Like that, there's no question. I no question. Right, with this person. Other people, okay. I've heard people talk and this and that. Someone moved across country. By me 3 years, 4 years. They moved across country, and, they didn't have much money. They drove, it's like driving like 3,000 miles back and forth to finally get all their stuff. It's crazy. It's stuck in snowstorms and other things. I did it 5 times, 6 times, I don't know, whatever it was. It's, just reminiscing the other day, but it's insane, but that's what they did. They were planning to move, they were scrimping and saving, move to a community. That's what happened. They ended up doing it, and about a year later, year and a half later, they finished. But that was also tremendous self-sacrifice. But at the same time, they were totally determined, and they showed they were determined. So I could see if someone's slacking off, and you see where they're holding, okay, that I could hear. If they're slacking off, you try and help them, to the best of your ability. Not just going to say, okay, whatever happens to them, happens to them. It depends. Depends where they're holding, depends what they're doing. But someone in general to say, you got obligation to keep Shabbat, you got to do this, do that. Who's going to say that? Right? I've heard people say, this is the other part of the issue. I've heard people say, oh, you see, married women, if they were married or now they're divorced or widowed. So, women cover their hair, and they're and men are dressing, they have tzitzis, they have a tallis, they have a prayer shawl, they, do these other things. So I've heard people come, say things against it. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. Certain things, obviously can't be done before conversion. That I understand. That I understand. That I totally understand, but I've heard other people jump up and down and say, why are you dressing like a Jew? Only dress like a Jew a few months before conversion. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily tell people to do that. It takes time to get used to doing certain things. For a woman, a hard thing might be to cover her hair. So she wants to practice months before doing it. Okay, there's no problem doing that. And if a person's gonna, practice wearing yarmulke and tzitzis and going out that way and this and that, what feels what it means to get harassed by like a Jew. Okay, no issue with that. I don't have any issue with that. I've heard some people say they shouldn't be doing it right before conversion. I disagree. I don't think it's true. You want to live the part, live it. I'm not saying you do it right at the beginning. Take it in, you take it in stride. You do it over time. You don't do it all at once, like we mentioned. Even the Jew coming back to Judaism, you don't do everything all at once. It's a process. But to say a person should never do it and they can't look the part, who says? Who says? The only way you're going to do it is if you put it in practice. You can take all the classes you want, you read all the books you want. If you don't put it into practice, what's it worth? The goose egg. It's not worth anything. Might get inspired a little bit, different things. You got to live it. Live it to whatever level you can. Right? You do too much, you'll get burnt out. It's too hard. You can make mistakes. You can get depressed. And there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues. I don't think there's any question. But what's the point of gaining knowledge? If you're in this process, what's the point of gaining knowledge? Gaining knowledge for knowledge's sake? Okay. But if you're in the process of conversion, you should put in action. And if you're in Noahide, put whatever Noahide has to do. Yeah, plenty of things Noahides have to do. I would say there are more things that Noahides have to do that I would say they're not obligated in, but are moral imperatives. Many things that are moral imperatives, but no one's going to say you're obligated. I don't think people know the laws of the way they should. I think there's, people say, oh yeah, there's only 7 laws. Yeah, about 60, 65, altogether. But 7 laws are just an umbrella. There's a lot to learn. I gave class on the Noahide laws. I'm going to put them up soon. But, I don't know, about almost 70, right? Some of them 5, 6 or 7 had to do with Jewish philosophy about God and reincarnation, reward and punishment, different things, but the others, all about idolatry, Shabbos, festivals, laws, what they're obligated in. These are complex. These are definitely complex, no question. People think it's always Noahide laws, they're complex. But I'm saying there's a lot more of what's the spirits behind it, meaning that even though a non-Jew wouldn't be obligated in them, right? But I've mentioned many times, moral imperatives, I think, are important. No one's going to say you're obligated. I'm not going to get, I'm not going to have people ram it down my throat. They say you said they're obligated. Nope, never said they're obligated. So it's a good thing for them to do. It's a moral imperative. Obligation, no. There are specific things they're obligated, and that's it. But I would say there are a lot of things that morally they should do, even though it's an obligation, right? So that would be my answer to that. If someone asks, if anger is a bad character trait, why is Hashem sometimes angry? Anger for a person, right? Let's say like this: anger for a person. The Rambam says, even if let's say you have to discipline a child. Right? Even if you have to discipline a child, a person has to show anger. It comes on the Rambam. The Rambam says, if you're going to show anger, you better be very careful. Very, very careful. So he says, you have to be an actor over here. Or an actress. You got to fake it, but you don't want to have the anger inside. You never discipline out of anger either. Right. And, a person could be tired, could have other things they're going through. The kid does something, they just, give them a punishment that doesn't fit the crime. Punishment should always fit the crime, whatever they do. But you should never react out of anger. That's why the Mishnah Perkei Avos says in Ethics for Our Fathers, you don't speak to somebody when they're angry. You let the anger assuage, you let it go away, then you can deal with them. But you don't speak to them straight away. 100%. Otherwise, they won't listen. And anyone who's ever been angry, even really angry, or less angry, they can't be reasoned with. Makes sense. The Gemara says, even if the pit of hell was right below them, it wouldn't change what they're doing. Why? Because when a person gets angry, they lose themselves. They totally lose themselves. Even if they're in their mind, they think this, they think that, they think the other thing, they lose control. That's why it's really forbidden to get angry. Yeah, because you lose control. You tell me there are different levels of anger, okay? I'm not necessarily talking about, anger where someone's like punching walls and throwing things around. I'm not talking about that level of anger. I mean, could be. There are different levels here, right? But but the bottom line is that someone who's angry, they can't be reasoned with. Right? I don't think that's too hard to understand. And anyone who's ever been, even if you've been mildly angry, Doesn't have to be rip-roaring angry over here. A person's mildly angry, can't be reasoned with necessarily. Yeah, until the anger subsides. So, you see someone that's angry, let him be. Unless it's a dangerous situation. But whatever you say is not going to help. In general. Unless you have a way to calm them down. But in general, if someone's angry, you don't answer them. You definitely don't answer them. There's just no way. 100% there's no way. Because they're not going to be reasonable. Right? They're not going to be, reasonable over here at all. So therefore, what? You don't deal with them. You let the anger go. You let their anger go. Once their anger goes, then you can deal with it. Now, that's first part of the question. Right? So, or someone asks, okay, I was going to mention that as well. Someone says, if you're angry, isn't that akin to idol worship? Yep. That's what the Gemara says also. Right? Also akin to idol worship. Right? It's like you worship another god. Right? It's a similar idea. Not only can't you be reasoned with, you're doing things that are totally logical. Idol worship is illogical in many ways. I have to understand what idol worship really is. Not just bowing down to something. You're giving something power it doesn't necessarily have, but it's an idea, it's a movement, it's different things that takes God out of the picture. But yeah, it's also like idol worship. So the second part of the question was, but you see, God gets angry. Yeah. See, the problem is God has a lot of character traits at the same time. Yeah, what is that? 13 attributes of justice. We say Hashem, God, the name Hashem is God of mercy. Hashem ki rachum v'chanu. It's compassionate, powerful. So how can you have, so I'll throw out this question, I'll answer another question with this question, and that is, how can you have mercy? How can you have mercy at the same time by having divine justice? Right? It's a good question. The Chaim Derech Hashem at the end, when he speaks about the holidays, deeper meaning behind the holidays, speaks about Rosh Hashanah, and he says that there's judgment with mercy. Now, normally we say judgment with mercy is a contradiction in terms. Either it's judgment or it's mercy. Right? How can you have both? How can you have both? So let's say, person, it's God forbid a fire in the house. The fire destroys, let's say, one room, part of one room, and there's smoke damage. Okay. The rest of the house is not destroyed. A few material things get destroyed. Nobody dies. Nobody gets injured. Now, someone's going to say, well, isn't that justice? That's justice. Right? Anytime someone's caused damage to their body, to their property, it's judgment. That 100% is judgment. But at the same time, what do I see? There's mercy. How is there mercy? Everybody could have been killed. The whole place could have gone up, could have lost everything. Could have been a lot worse. A heck of a lot worse. Person's in a car accident, let's say. Car gets smashed, they come out without a scratch. There's judgment and mercy. That's not all mercy. Your car just got demolished. How much are you going to get for it? This, that, that's judgment. But there can be mercy. Now, you look at God, God can have both character traits at the same time. Right? I'll give another example. Torah says that the Egyptians died. Right? The Egyptians, by the splitting of the sea, what happens? The sea comes over them. Everyone knows the story. The Egyptians die. The Gemara in Megillah says, comes on Malchei Sharetz, comes on the ministering angels. They want to sing Shira. They want to sing praise to God. They don't want to sing to God for killing the Jews' enemies. God says, my creation is drowning. You want to sing? You want to sing Shira? Right? So the whole question, am I allowed to be happy when my enemies get destroyed or not? So that's the whole question. Seemingly this is a contradiction, different sources. But even without getting into that, let's hit this issue. What's going on? Isn't there divine judgment? Yes. Didn't the Egyptians deserve to die? They deserve to die. Everyone agrees they deserve to die. God says, I'm going to destroy them. God destroys them. But what happened over here? God, you're going to tell me? You're going to tell me don't let the angels sing? But isn't this what you want? The Egyptians went well beyond what they should have done. They deserve to be destroyed. Very good. Very good. What's the problem? God says they're also my creation. They're also my creation. So I'm not going to destroy. I also feel bad. Right, same thing. At the end of Parshas Bereshis. Right? It says God has regret. He has remorse for creating man. What do you mean he has remorse? Didn't God know man is evil? Their thoughts are evil? Right? So Rashi gives an example. Someone came one of the rabbis and asked that question. God, if God knows the future, how could he say that? How could God have regret? God doesn't have regret. So the rabbi answered him and said, hey, didn't you ever have a child? He said, yes. What did you do when you had a child? And they made a celebration. They gave out Cuban cigars. Had a big celebration. Very good. But don't you know, in the end, this child's going to grow up and eventually die? So the person said, yeah, I do understand that, but I'll be sad when I'm supposed to be sad. I'll be happy when I'm supposed to be happy. Same thing. Same thing. God says, okay, I have to judge them. They deserve judgment. They deserve to be annihilated. I also feel bad. I have to do it. And not only that, 80% of the Jewish people don't come out of Egypt because of what the Egyptians did to them. Now, it's brought down that the Egyptians say, the Torah tells us, they're fighting against us. Sorry, their God is fighting against us. Now, because of that, I have a video, I spoke about this on whatever parsha it was. It was on my video channel, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism. Got a video there in the parsha, the book of Exodus. Why are they allowed to be buried? Because they admitted God was fighting against them. They get spit out into dry lands, and they have the right to be buried. I would have said, let them die like Bin Laden. Let the fish eat them. What they did to the Jewish people, let the fish eat them, for goodness sake. No. God says they recognize me. No matter how bad they were, they recognize me. They deserve to be buried. We never would have said such a thing. Never. We would have said, let the whales eat them, let the sharks eat them, let other fish eat them. Let them eat their bodies. There'll be nothing left of them. They deserve to be buried. That's also mercy, even though there's judgment. Right? But let's really answer the question. Right? Anger is bad. How can God get angry? Because it's reward and punishment. You go against the king, there's payback. I don't have to go against the king. There can be serious payback. Yeah. Now, does God want to do that? No. But it's built in the creation. Right? He knows when, to be more severe, less severe, different things. He's not necessarily taking it to heart like we would. I mean, it feels bad. He has to do it. But think about it. He also has mercy. It's offset by mercy here. Mind-boggling idea. God can feel both at the same time we can. Anger by us, why is it really bad? Because it's consuming. I just listened to something earlier, famous story of the Chaim. Someone came to him, the story about someone who lived in a certain neighborhood, certain religious neighborhood in Jerusalem. And overnight they moved. Nobody could find them. No one knew what happened. So finally tracked them down. And they said, what happened? Why'd you move? The person said, well, synagogue I prayed in, there was machlokes. People were up in arms, one against the other, and I go like the Chaim, when there's machlokes, you flee. When when there are problems, disagreements, it can destroy you. Right? The Chaim brings that many times in the laws of Lashon Hara. So he said, better I go somewhere else than to be part of this. Either taking one side or whatever. It's all consumed. Right? That's what it can lead to. So anger by a person is 10 times worse. There'll be people today, I've heard this on many occasions from a lot of different people, and they still have claims for things people did years ago. Never got over it. Again, I'm not saying what people did was right. Right? Let's make it easy. Let's say they said things, they did things, that weren't right. Okay. Most people would say if you don't get over it or somehow deal with it or go to therapy or whatever, it's just going to consume you. And that'll take a turn on your health. You get enough aggravation as it is. You can't live in the past. You live in the past, things were done. And again, I'm convinced, maybe I'll make a course out of it. I'm pretty convinced certain things by mental illness, I think a lot of it could be cured. You take this with a grain of salt. Yeah. By outlook and how you see things. I'm not saying everything, not by any stretch. People went through trauma. You can't will it to fix it. That I understand even with the greatest Jewish philosophy, but I think, understanding a lot of things, how the world works and what goes on, it takes down things a lot. I'm not going to say everything. I'm not even going to say, I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but I would think a person's outlook is everything, and that's been proven in medicine. There's no question. There's no question that, a positive outlook can heal a person. Use a modern example, Norman Cousins, right? A terrible disease, and what therapy did he use that helped him the most? Laughter therapy. So what did he do? He watched the Stooges, Three Stooges. Yeah, he watched Abbott and Costello, Charlie Chaplin, right? Different things, right? In his day, and that helped him more than any medication. There is what to be said for laughter. I'm gonna say it's gonna cure everything. I don't know if it's gonna cure everything, but medically there is something to it. It's not a voodoo type of thing or a holistic type of thing. It's been proven. It has been proven. And he took it seriously. Laughed himself to death, so to speak. He took it seriously. Gave him years to his life. So yeah, even a little bit of anger for a human is bad. You can't let it fester. You let it fester, it'll destroy you in many ways. You're right. People do things, people say things that, there are certain perspectives how to look at it. People would be traumatized by being bullied. True. Right? Also true. Again, a lot of these things, person may need therapy for. I don't even a question. I'm just saying, if a person has a certain outlook, from the Torah, I think, a portion of this goes down. I'm not saying you can will it and get rid of it all. I wouldn't go that far, but, depending on what it is, I think, I think perspective, can take a person out of a lot of things. Yeah, again, someone's going to say, well, what about medical, what about hormonal imbalance, different things? Okay, that you need medication for, and that other issue, or someone, let's say, they suffer from, anxiety, and now all of a sudden something came up and now they got serious anxiety. You got to see a psychologist, and a psychiatrist, and person may be on medication, calm them down and then deal with what the issue is. Torah can't necessarily will that. Okay. When these things take a hold of a person, you lose sight of reality. I'm not even talking about someone who's bipolar and has an episode. I'm not talking about that. Right? Those are chemical issues, another thing. Okay. Yeah. Person has that, Torah's not going to will it unless you have medication or you're speaking to someone or whatever. Right? But I'm saying for things that you don't necessarily need that, Torah perspective is huge. Huge. But you have to work at it. It's hard, but anger is a killer. Anger is a big killer. That's why my Rebbe says when it comes to Torah observance, the person didn't do what they were supposed to when they were younger, whatever. And they transgressed all kinds of things. Let's say, finally later on they come to the truth. They feel bad. Right? The Rebbe says, you can't worry about it. Only because you live in the past, you have no future. You can't dwell on it. Now, if you can make you stronger by it, okay. But we don't want to draw negativity. Negativity makes people negative, right? That's what it is. And it's very hard to get out of that. Very hard. I'm not going to say impossible. It's very hard, especially if a person gets put down and, a person gets yelled at and a person's told that they're going to be worth anything or, all kinds of different things. That's hard. No question about it. No question about it. No one should ever have to go through certain things. It's psychological abuse, right? That is no question. And we live in a cream puff generation. So a person, I was just telling someone this the other day, that, the problem we have today, raising kids is, and this is even someone told me this 30 years ago, or 25 years ago, right? That's 20 years ago, I don't remember exactly. But the serious problem today is people have lack of self-esteem. Lack of self-esteem. They said we got to build up our kids, praise them and give them more praise and more praise because they don't have such self-esteem. They look at themselves like, they can't do this and it's too hard and whatever. So, they're overcome by the inclination and, whatever that leads to. So I told this great rabbi, I said, I understand. I said, if you build people up, you tell them how great they are, they're going to be balagaiva. They're going to be conceited. I said, don't worry, I can work with that also. I can help people with that also. But the issue is the person's been beaten down in life. That's, we've probably all been beaten down at some level. We didn't succeed in school. Maybe we weren't good athletes. Maybe other people put us down. Maybe we got put down a lot. Then we started to change our lives. They put us down for that. Put us down for other things. Yeah, it can be depressing. Why? The very few over here survives. Because peer pressure is huge. Societal influence is huge. And it's hard to break that. And the one thing we want more important than anything else in the world, I think, and that is we want family support. Now, some people have it. That's very good. A lot of people don't have it, and it's not only they don't have it, they get hammered all the time, right? I was just listening to someone say, like, by Bali Tshuva, I know somebody that's returning to Judaism. I know somebody, went home. This person's got 3 brothers, so 4 brothers, and every time he came home, they hammered him, just made fun of him, different things. So basically, he said, listen, you want to go back to how we had a relationship? I'm willing to do that. You want to bring up religion? I'm out of here. Right? That's it. It's only a certain amount I can take. You want to have an open relationship that has nothing to do with religion? Okay, I'm in. You want to make it everything about religion and hammer me every time you see me? I'll never come home. You'll never see me. I'll never speak to you. Now, that happens. That probably happens more than it doesn't happen. Yeah, but sometimes people can't overlook that. And people say, wow, you think this, and so it goes against everything they believe in. So they make it a huge issue, right? Just like politics does. I heard 2 people talking last week, and I did the best thing. I kept my big mouth shut, talking about the difference between Democrats and Republicans live in different places and what the right's doing. But, I was waiting. I'm dying. I just sat there and said, nope. Let them have their own discussion. Yeah. I didn't jump in. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. But, in any case, there's a lot of craziness in the world. People trying to ram things down our throats for whatever reason. Want us to think a certain way, do certain things. So, okay. Right? I also told this to someone, you want to have a relationship, take religion out. You can have a relationship without this. Nope. Person said either it's all this or nothing. I said, okay, it's your loss. I said, I'm willing to start from scratch, do certain things. Okay, nope. So what are you going to do? Nothing to do. Right? There's nothing to do. It's painful. But, at the end of the day, sometimes people have it easier. Sometimes people have it harder. You can say, okay, we'll agree to disagree. You want to talk about religion. That's it. And that was the advice this person gave. People become religious. People become religious. You don't hammer people in general. Sometimes you have to give them rebuke for certain things. Okay, but so talk about other things that have nothing to do with religion. That's it. It's painful, but that's what you have to do if you want to maintain a relationship. And if you don't feel that relationship's worth it, then you won't do it. Right? But there are certain dynamics, A, that are toxic, B, are just bad for a person. And like I said, a lot of this quote unquote my own wisdom, it's things I've learned over the years. I wish I would have learned it 25 years ago, 30 years ago, more. Okay. You learn, you live, but now you got to take all that and put it into action. So now what happens? Now I'm a big chacham. Now I'm very wise. Because now I understand all the dynamics before. Now I see what all this stuff led to. Where it came from, what's the base. Is it still annoying years later? In some parts. But for the most part, I've evolved, so to speak, and I go bink. I mean, sometimes it's harder to go bink, so maybe it's a little bit boink or whatever. Sometimes it's harder, right? But in general, it saves a lot of aggravation. Could I have claims against people? Oh, yeah. I could write a whole book. I could write 5 books. Not, I could start today and just rattle off. Not even a problem. Not even a problem. I do 100 pages by tomorrow. Easy. Guess what? I'm not putting my trash out there. But again, people don't know what they're doing. And they say things and they do things. Is it their fault? Oh, it's their fault. There's no question. Question is, how do you react? That's the question. How do you react to that? So painful and this and that, right? 100% it is. But where's it coming from? Yeah. How do I see it? If they're saying this to me, is there something lacking in me? There could be something lacking in me. Very well could be. Plenty of things, I'm sure. We don't get messages for no reason. Things don't happen for no reason. So a person can go through all these different things and say, why is everybody always picking on me? Anyone know that song? Right? Anyway, you could say, well, it's not fair. Life's not about being fair here. It's about things measure for measure. We don't always understand the measure for measure. But what can happen? The question is, okay, now you have that life experience. What'd you do with it? How'd you get through it? How'd you view it? And a person's going to say, oh, Torah, come on. Torah can answer that? Oh, yeah, big time. Big time. All you have to do is go through duties of the heart. It'll change the way you live your life. No question. Go through Derech Hashem, path of the just. These things will change the way you think. They'll change the way you look at life. So I came to these things later. Telling you, my life would have been 10 times easier. 10 times easier. Things people said, things they did, and this and that. Today it's not even an issue. It's a non-issue. Yeah. Someone make a comment and laugh at them. Laugh at their stupidity. That's what it is. Oh, but someone said something really below the belt. Yeah. Okay, then I would answer. Most things I wouldn't answer. Some things, I'll call people on it. I'll pick my issues. Today, the left is like protesting all over the country. They just passed the first part of this bill for this judicial bill, whatever. Like they're tying up traffic everywhere, tried to storm the Knesset, whatever, trying to do all these things, and, someone says, oh, it's because, someone in America tells me, oh, it's all because of the right wing and it's all because of the religious, and it's all their fault and this, that, and the other thing. But let me ask you one question. Have you researched what's going on here? Right? I'm not going to get into politics, but I said, you know really what's going on here? What they're really protesting against? I said, the left agrees with the right. There's a need to change the Supreme Court. Because who makes the Supreme Court judges? The Supreme Court judges. They appoint whoever they want. Yeah, it's kind of cronyism, right? But you imagine the American Congress. Use America as an example. Congress comes up with a bill. And the Supreme Court comes up and says, no, we don't like it. Unconstitutional. And they knock off every single bill. And they stick their nose in where it doesn't belong. Where they have way too much power. You don't think people, people are going to say, well, there's a problem here, there's no checks and balances. Supreme Court can't just uproot everything they want. Especially when it comes to religion, they stick their nose in for that also. Things they don't know anything about. Yeah. There'll be uproar. Uproar. Congress can't pass any laws because they're afraid of the Supreme Court. They're afraid what the Supreme Court's going to do. They can uproot every single law. Never. In a normal democracy, I'm not saying Israel's a normal democracy, but a normal democracy, this would never happen. Never. I just pointed out in a nice way. Didn't raise my voice, didn't get excited like I normally would have. And I said, that's what's going on here. It had nothing to do with with the religious and all that. Everyone knows there needs to be change. They just think they're going to go too far, in different things. And they're afraid of the religion. I get it. They should be afraid of us. We're going to be the majority at some point. They're all going to die out. But, in general, the person didn't know their arm from their elbow or their elbow from other parts of the body. So I was very nice, and I said, you can blame whatever you want. I said, maybe you want to do a little bit of research before you start saying things that aren't necessarily true. You do the research, you come up to that conclusion, very good. But that's not what's going on. Right? If someone said something stupid when I was in camp, we'd say, instead of saying they were stupid, you'd say, learn the rules, play the game, practice. That's what you tell them. In a nice way. That's a nice way of saying you're an idiot. Right? But people make all kinds of statements. They say all kinds of things they don't know anything about. And they're very passionate about it. The problem comes, as we mentioned many times, they want you to say it's okay. You can't. There are things you can't say. It's okay. That's it. Yeah. So in that sense, there's reward and punishment. God can be angry, but he can also have mercy. He can also have power. He can have all these character traits at the same time. Yeah, anger is the result of not doing what he says. Anger is the result of reward and punishment. The only question is how bad is it going to be. But for a person to have anger, you're right, it's worse. 10 times worse. God's not going to let that anger necessarily affect him, but he's going to do what he needs to do when it comes to reward and punishment. Right? That would be the answer. Somebody here asks, what if anger, even fake anger, reaches emotional distance? That's a problem. Fake anger means you're not attached. You can still love the child, even though you have to show that you're angry. Now, it's very easy to get a very young child, to feel bad about what they did or even to cry. They do something wrong, right? I was like, did you do this? Whatever. They don't want to say anything, and you give them a scowl. You look at them with with this very strong, angry look. They may burst out in tears. They might. Yeah, I'm not saying you should do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying. But the idea is even fake anger should not affect the person. That's the point. Right? In other words, that fake anger, what it should do is it should not, I'll tell you what it shouldn't do. It should not create distance between parent and child. That's what it should not do. Shouldn't get that far. But that's what he's telling you. He's telling you that even if you have fake anger, you got to be careful. Right? So the question is, couldn't that put more of a distance between you and the child? It could. If you had real anger, also could do that for sure. Right? But that you got to be careful of. That I would agree. That you have to be careful of. But a person can be distanced from the action that they're taking. In other words, if they're faking it and they do a great job, that means it's not affecting them on the inside. If it's not affecting them on the inside, it will not do any damage. It will not do any damage between parent and child. But if they don't do it right, so to speak, then yeah, it could have an effect. So you have to be careful, right? 100%, you have to be careful. Right, someone here mentions also, many cases raising a voice at someone makes the other person want to avoid you. Yeah. Right, that's true. But always, even if someone says something obnoxious, you don't want to show that you lose control. So that's the problem. That is essentially the problem, because if you start to rant and rave, even though you're excited and you're passionate, people, think of passion, and anger or whatever is like a similar thing. It's a similar thing, right? As someone mentioned on the whatever comment, one of my videos a number of years ago, about yelling and screaming, during videos or whatever. And someone else had mentioned, that's only because the person's passionate about what they do, what they love. So yeah, they get all, excited about it, whatever. They may even yell and scream about it. Yeah, but that's not losing control. They say, oh, why do you have to yell and scream? Yelling and screaming either could be for emphasis, but yelling and screaming could also be for what? Passion. Right? I mean, it's sitting there, yelling and screaming for no reason. But when a person raises their voice, it may cause people to avoid them. That's true. That is true. And it's not just about winning arguments, but if a person raises their voice, and then what, they don't hear the words, they just hear the raise in tone. When they hear the raise in tone, they, what do you call it? They sort of tune out. Even if you're passionate about it, it's like, well, you have to yell and scream about it. So so people will get that as as different things. It's different things. But when someone yells at someone, you're right, it has a negative effect. It has a negative effect, and it could cause them to avoid you. That's true. You know what? Sometimes a person may have to speak in strong terms, may have to yell. May have to. I'm not saying it's necessarily good, so I'm just saying sometimes you might have to. But you get your point across better when you talk in a normal way. When if you talk in a normal way, even if you get excited, but you don't raise your voice, it's more, people sound more reasonable. Person raises their voice, it's a different issue. Right? It's definitely a different issue. But that is a drawback. That's a drawback when people say, oh, they want to avoid you. But guess what? People want to avoid you anyway. They may want to avoid you anyway, different reasons. They don't like what you think, so it doesn't matter. Speak strong. If you speak strong, right, even if you don't raise your voice, they still may not want to listen. Right? That's another issue. They just may say, oh, I can't speak to him and whatever. So I would say, like, if you want to have contact with family and friends, if some people are open to listening, very good. If they're not open to listening, then don't bring it up. You don't bring up these topics. Unless somebody asks. Like, when I was in the States, most people I came in contact with had nothing to do with religion. Zero. Yeah, a few things, maybe here and there, but most things. But what other things? About the weather, about politics, about, I don't know, all kinds of different things, right? Nothing of meaning in general. Totally, I wouldn't say all of it, but a good part of it, no meaning at all, just total waste of time. But okay, some people, that's what you have to do. So a person wants to have that type of relationship, and you're gonna do that. So understand that's what you might have to do. If you can't talk about what you want to talk about, so isn't that sad? You're right. So you talk to other people about it. But it won't be necessarily, family or friends. It just won't be. Somebody asks, it's common sense, there's only one God, not many gods. Common sense. I mean, the Torah makes clear there's only one God. But there's, I'll tell you, in the first, after the introduction of Chovos Levavos, which a lot of people don't learn, a lot of it has to do with Kabbalah, but and other things, it's called the Gate Unity of God. It's called Shara Yichud. Shara Yichud, in Duties of the Heart, what's the whole discussion about? Discussion about proof there's one God. He goes through a lot of different proof. Why there's only one God? So you have to read it. You have to see. You have to see what they are. Is it logical Depends what your point of reference is. Is it logical, for Hindus to worship a cow? Is that logical? According to their perspective, yeah. Their warped perspective. Christians believe, a lot of Christians believe that, JC is the Son of Man and he's God and all three of them put together and all that. Is that logical? It's totally logical when you don't think about it. That's why most Christians are, don't know anything about their own religion. Right? Totally not logical. According, Christianity is a good example. They'll use their convoluted logic to show why it's true. And yeah, they're jumping through hoops to try and show why it's true. Yeah. Now, say there's one God. So again, it's going to come from our perspective. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Right? God is one. Right? God is unique. If you say, according to our perspective, like the Rambam says in the beginning of the 13 Principles of Faith, that God is absolute, he doesn't change, and therefore he's not subservient to anything. So yeah, that makes sense. The question is, what's their perspective? So Zoroastrians, I don't know how many Zoroastrians are there in the world. According to their perspectives, there's good God and bad God. Good God does good things, bad God does bad things. Okay. Now, from their perspective, so you look at Christianity, who does everything bad is JC. Sorry, it does things bad also. Is Mr. S. It's quote unquote fallen angel. That's a different issue, right? They're trying to answer why there's evil in the world, right? So I have to say it's a fallen angel, right? It's going to depend on the person's perspective, where they're coming from. Christianity will have its perspective. Islam, even though they believe in one God, they have their perspective. Right? Hindus have their perspective, our Christians have their perspective, and all these other, 79,996 or 80,000 different religions, they also have their perspective. Some have multiple gods, some have less, some have more. Right? Is it logical? Depends on the perspective. From our perspective, it makes sense it's logical. Yeah, because nothing comes outside of God. God is everything. If God is everything, it doesn't change. Right? It can't be multiple gods, otherwise it's not unique. Right? So from our perspective, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are other issues also, but those are the simple things. But they're going to say, I don't know that. I don't know what the Bible says. I have my own thing or whatever. Yeah. So a polytheist is not necessarily going to use the Bible as proof. Maybe use certain things in Tanakh where they're going to misrepresent it, and mistranslate it and all that, and try and show there are other powers other than God. That's not true. They're just misrepresenting it. Okay. I'm saying these other things, it's going to be based on their perspective. Totally on their perspective. Right? So we have our own perspective. Now, who says they want to listen to our perspective? Okay. Can we prove it? Yeah. It can be proven. Definitely can be proven. So the question is it common sense? I'm going to tell you something very scary. I don't think it's scary for most people. They probably understand. And that is, most people don't have common sense. And when it comes to religion, their common sense goes out the window. Why? Because they have an evil inclination. They want to believe what they want to believe. Come on, who would want to be a Christian today? So easy. So easy. I don't have to do anything to pass the buck. JC, died for all my sins. Beautiful. You do all kinds of things, make a few confessions, couple Hail Marys, and that's it. I'm good. Much easier. Much, much easier. I don't take responsibility for what I do for anything. For anything. Beautiful. Is that logical? For them, it is. It's a very easy thing, and conversion is very easy. It's not so hard. So to be part of it, what do I have to do? What do I have to take on? Do these things make logical sense? They don't at all. But no one's telling them that because they're being brainwashed. And they have a good deterrent. If you don't believe in JC, you're going to find out forever. Very good deterrent. Very, very good deterrent. Mistranslations, historical inaccuracies. You got problems up the gazoo in Christianity. True. So why aren't most of them leaving? Some of them are going to stay. Fear factor, right? Probably a lot of them. Others, why would they leave? Even if they know these things. They'll say, what, I've been lying to the church for the last 50 years? Yeah. Well, what, first of all, there was all their friends, different things. There's good reason. Even though it's been proven why you shouldn't believe in him and this and that, some people hold on to him anyway. Even if they've been proven wrong. Right? A lot of things that are illogical. By them, 100% a leap of faith. By us, it's belief with, it's belief with knowledge. That's a whole nother thing. But who says people have common sense? When it comes to religion, common sense is a window. Totally out the window, because most religions you have to have you leave your brain somewhere else. I mean, come on. Before, Muhammad's flight from Mecca to Medina, it's like nothing happened. And who was around when Muhammad had this dream? Nobody. Same with JC. Did all these miracles for how many people? A few? At best? It's not credible. The only one that's credible is Judaism, because it's done in front of 3 million people. Yeah, right? The Torah says. That's the only thing that makes sense. Right? But there's something else. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe what they want to believe, and it's easier. The only ones who's gonna attach themselves to the truth and want to look into it, people have questions. Why don't they have questions? Because they're not taught to ask questions. That's illogical. People say, "Oh, you're part of a cult." I'm like, thank God. It's a beautiful cult to be a part of. Totally been brainwashed. Beautiful. We all need to be brainwashed. The other things don't make any sense logically. But no one's asking the question. Very few people are asking the question. Where are the tens of thousands, millions of Christians who should be coming out? Because it's all garbage. All makes no sense at all. Not to mention no proof text and all this. Doesn't make any sense. So why are they all there? Why are they all there? A, because they're afraid they're going to find out forever. They don't believe in JC. Second of all, they're not taught the question. If you taught the question, they believe in by the masses. By the masses. Right? Nothing to talk about. Right? So the question is, it's a common sense. You have to see, is the Torah true or not true? You have to see, what does the Torah say? You have to see, are there any contradictions? Seemingly contradictions. If I find one contradiction, I'll be keeping Torah at all. God forbid. Right? Right? So, do we know the only one God comes to Mount Sinai? That's the main reason. That 100% is the main reason. God came to 3 million people. No one ever said such a thing. I mean, these Mormons were telling me, don't you believe John Smith found this book in a cave 200 years? I'm like, 200 years? Why not have to hide it? That's the question. Why is it hidden in a cave? I said, what about Exodus chapter 19, chapter 20? God spoke to Jewish people, 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60, not including women and children. That's about 2 to 3 million people. I go, beat you 200 years in a cave, doesn't it? Checkmate. Like, wow, it's a great story. Yeah, no one's ever replicated it. Why? Who's gonna replicate something? 3 million people. Come on. Yeah, so we believe what we believe. Why? Based on whatever Mount Sinai. But I'm saying there's internal logic in the Torah also. As well. Yeah, let me see. There's another question there. Would it be considered stealing? Taking a cutting from a tree that's not yours for propagating it. Oh. Depends who the tree belongs to. If the tree, let's say, is hefker, is ownerless, then I can take it, not a problem. If it belongs to someone else, they're not allowed to take anything from it unless they give me permission, right? That would be stealing. Yeah. Unless it's been declared ownerless. If the tree is ownerless, then then it's like any ownerless thing. If I find something that's proven that a person left it there, but there's no sign on it or whatever, in public, and most likely the person probably forgot about getting it back or the value of it or whatever, I can take it. Right? It does seemingly doesn't belong to anyone. Right? There are no signs on it, different things. Fine. If this belongs to someone, or it belongs to someone, who says you can take from it unless you have permission? It's like anything else. If it's ownerless, not a problem. right? That definitely wouldn't be a, if you know who owns it, you have to ask permission. Even take a branch from it, you have to ask permission. If you know they wouldn't be stringent on it, I mean, you have to know this for sure. If you took off a branch, they're not going to care about it. You know they're not going to care about it. You heard them say they don't care about it, so fine. But, if the person doesn't know that, or you don't ask permission, yeah, that'd be like anything else. That'd be anything else. I'll take it one step further. Imagine somebody gave someone collateral. They owed them money. They gave collateral. They didn't pay. Yeah, we'll say they didn't pay. Am I allowed to go in this person's house, take it? The object belongs to me. Let's say the object belongs to me. I know the person has it. I know the person has it, and I want it back. They're not giving it back to me. Can I walk in and take it? Can I walk into their house and take it by force or in hiding? Doesn't matter. Can I go steal it? Now, what would you say? Some might say I'm allowed to steal it. Why am I allowed to steal it? It's mine. 100%, it's mine, right? If it is, I can go in and take it. It belongs to me. He's not giving me back what I want, so I'll take it. It's mine. Right? That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, even if it's yours, does not give you the right to go into someone's house and take it. That's stealing. And that's how we hold. It's stealing. Right? That's why you need the Torah to tell me that. Otherwise, I would say what? Whose object does it belong to? Me, myself, and I, my civil complex, all three of us. Belongs to me. So it belongs to me. Let me take it. Even if I steal it, so what? I beat him up and I take it. So it's mine. I have a right to take it. You didn't do what you're supposed to do, so I'll take it. Very good. It's my honor. If I take something that doesn't belong to me, say, you owe me this. Oh, you're not giving this back to me? Whatever. So I'll take something of the same value. Let's say it's 100% the same value. Can I do that? Person owes you. Nope, not allowed to. It's stealing. All the more so if you think the object belongs to you. It's your object, mind-boggling idea. It's your object. Let me have it. No, can't have it until you meet, until these circumstances are met. And that's halacha. You can't go and take it. That's stealing. Yeah, even if it belongs to you. If it doesn't belong to you, all the more so, right? So the general rule is that it doesn't belong to you unless you ask permission or the person ever thinks they're going to get it back. You're allowed to take it. Then you'll be allowed to take it, under certain circumstances. Otherwise, it's not yours. You say the person won't miss it. Okay, so what? If it's something they would never be stringent on. Let's say this piece of tree, you took a few things to make toothpicks. And a person's never going to be stringent on that. You took this amount of wood. You think they're going to be that stringent? No, most likely not. Yeah. I mean, non-Jew, even still a little bit, it's still a problem. But let's say we'll make it easy. They would not be stringent on such a thing. Is that stealing? No, that wouldn't be stealing. But if they'd even be stringent on that, then yeah, there's no question it's stealing. Right? You'd have to ask permission. If you don't ask permission, unless this tree is ownerless, then I can take it. Then, it doesn't belong to anybody. It's not on anyone's property. I'd be allowed to take it. I'm allowed to use it for what I want, unless it belongs to someone or you're not allowed to. Or there's a sign up saying you can't cut any of these trees. Public property, can't do it. Okay. But if not, then seemingly I could. But, if it definitely belongs to someone, yeah, then it'll be forbidden. Yeah, any other questions? A universe without God sounds insane. Yeah, it is. Can you say it? 100%. 100%. Listen, God gave us this world and we blew it in a lot of ways. We're paying a serious price for it now. You got people ramming down our throats, trying to get at kids at a very young age, trying to convince them they're not of that gender. That's insane. Totally insane. Can I say it? Yeah. Not a problem to say it. We live in a messed up world. Who messed it up? We did. We messed it up. But yeah, if you don't have a universe with God, what do you have? You do whatever you want. Yeah, you have morality that is relative, i.e. moral relativism. That's what you have. And that's a disaster because morality can change. Euthanasia. Oh, that's mercy. No, we hold it's murder. Yeah. The reality changes. But can you say it? Yeah, 100%. 100% not a problem. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday. It's good to be back. 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism, or orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Torah portion of the week, Q&As, ethics of our fathers, controversial issues. And you want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com, which I'm good.